I'm Tony Sklar with bnetTV. We are here at the Emerging Display Technology Conference with the MPD Group in Santa Clara, California, 2012. I am speaking with Immersion's Mr. Steve Kingsley-Jones. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Very well. Thank you very much. For all the people out there in bnetTV land, why don't you give us a brief overview of Immersion, where you fit within the ecosystem, and what you're doing here at the Emerging Display Technology Conference?
Okay, well, Immersion provides haptic technologies in software to various handset manufacturers, automotive manufacturers, and even people doing large screen displays. And what we enable is, through the control of different types of actuator technology, people to feel like something's real. So when you reach out and touch a screen, it feels like a real button. Or when you shake the maracas in a game or feel an explosion, it feels real. That uses all sorts of technologies, from the most humdrum, basic, cheap coin ERM inside of an old handset, all the way through to the bleeding edge stuff, some of whom are here today showing off cutting edge actuator technologies that you'll find in only the highest end handsets and tablets.
So, you know, we've had a chance to speak with Immersion in the past over the course of a number of years, and other haptic software developers as well. And you know, again, for the people out there in bnetTV, and let's describe what a haptic really is. You know, I use the nomenclature just as much as you would, you know, haptics and tactile responses, but you know, sometimes it can get a little cumbersome for the viewers. Let's break it down into steps and how you got to where you are today.
Okay, well, the most basic aspect, and most people are familiar with haptics, in a game controller. If you're playing Xbox or PlayStation, the controller shakes when you get shot, and there's various effects that are in there. That, of course, translated into mobile phones. So people used it initially for touch confirmation, and the motor that's in the phone, because it had to be there anyway in order to give you alerts and things, was used to give you some level of feedback when you touch buttons. And some of it's pretty poor quality, because the motor's junky and the software's bad and things like that. So Immersion came along and said, hey, let's make the software perfect and make it feel good on any device that's possible. So you've got the most inexpensive device, we can make it feel good. For years now, there's been over 1 billion people who've suffered with bad touch feedback on their display, and we can cure that problem. And so we work with various parts of the ecosystem, be they chip manufacturers who do the amplifiers and things like that, people like TI and Imagis and others, as well as the actuator manufacturers, everyone from Semco, who's in almost every handset from Samsung, all the way through to the new guys like Artificial Muscle or SPS, and even Tactus and Sensei. All different companies offering different technologies to enable the touch to feel good, and Immersion sits there and brings them all together and makes sure it works in a device.
Everything from M-Health through to gaming is kind of where we want to have some tactile responses inevitably transpire through our mobile devices. What is in the ecosystem? Are we just talking mobile phones, or we've got you know, what are the other devices like the tablets? And not that I want to answer the question for you.
That's okay. Well, that's a good answer. No, of course we're in tons of tablets, tons of phones, as well as automotive. The center console for the Cadillac Q, where you reach out and touch the buttons and things like that, has our haptics. Haptics is also what you describe when you feel it in a rotary controller or a joystick controller. And we've been in cars since the late 90s, and things like the BMW iDrive, the Lexus RX, all these use different forms of haptic or touch response in order to make the UI more usable. So the Cadillac Q is the latest one, using haptic feedback on the touchscreen and the touch buttons in the center console. But there's also, of course, applications in industrial, casino gaming, different types of peripherals, GPS systems, everything you can imagine. So if someone's got a device with a digital interface, they typically want haptic response in it.
So haptics, again, you know, when we first started covering this particular conference, it was something that was new, that was just coming up on, you know, from what you've got in your hand, it was new. Now, of course, those have been deployed. What are some of the futures of haptics that we're going to see that you've been talking about at the conference?
Well, the big thing that I'm going to talk about here at the show, and it's one of the first times we've talked about it, is the fact that the interface in the mobile phone today that you're used to seeing, the Galaxy S3, for example, or the iPhone or any of those devices, it's a very dead interface. It's a piece of glass. Haptics makes it come alive, sure, but that's still the old interface. What you're going to see over the next 5 years is that this becomes the CPU for your body, and you'll have various peripherals throughout your body, from Google Glass all the way through to wrist actuation, wrist technology to support, you know, miniature displays, the old email on your end, wrist watch where you have the phone there. There's also things that are mounted on the body, ankles, belts, necklaces, you name it, people are doing it. That is going to become the CPU is going to be your mobile phone, and the rest of it is a distributed network on your body. So we're going to talk about how haptics is useful in that way. Wow. Everything from notifying you through an earring that you've got a phone call, all the way through to helping you train as you're running in your shoe.
Those are some fantastic technologies that I'm very much looking forward to hearing about. Steve, thanks very much for taking the opportunity to speak with us. I hope we get a chance for another update again in the future. Great technology. Just one last thing I want to end off on here is if there are developers that are out there that do need to get in touch with Immersion, how do they do that? What type of program do you have?
Well, we have a number of different partnership programs. Specifically, go to our website. We have developer programs. We have software that developers can download and add haptics to their games and apps for free, no issues at all. Just download it and incorporate it in. It'll work on any Android device. We also have partnership programs where we work with various chip manufacturers and actuator vendors to try and bring them together so that they can have the best solution for the mobile OEMs.
Steve Kingsley-Jones, thanks for taking the opportunity. I hope we get a chance for another update again in the future. I've been speaking with Immersion, Mr. Steve Kingsley-Jones here at the Emerging Display Technology Conference in Santa Clara, California. I'm Tony Sklar with bnetTV.